Hello, I'm Anthea Coulter and I'm the manager at Clackmannanshire Third Sector Interface, or as we're better known as CTSI. And welcome to Volunteers Week. This is a special week from the 1st to the 7th of June that across Scotland we celebrate volunteers, and this year is no different. We may not be able to meet in person, and sadly we can't hold our awards ceremony for a second year, but we've pulled together some fantastic clips and stories from across our communities, just sharing a little bit of what's happened to them through the last year and what they've contributed. So we hope you enjoy it, we hope you take part in Volunteers Week, and hope you're inspired to get involved with volunteering. Thank you very much.
Prior to the pandemic, we at Clackmannanshire Citizens Advice Bureau, we provide free, confidential and impartial advice, and the main ways that we did that were through our main office in Alloa, providing drop-in sessions but also appointments for specialist projects. But over and above that, we made sure that our services were available throughout Clackmannanshire through outreaches in different areas with different organisations. Like most organisations, we didn't really have prior warning in terms of the lockdown and how that would change our services. The main and the biggest change was that all our staff were working remotely, all our volunteers were remotely, and we had to change the way we worked with our community in terms of giving advice over the phone and email, being unable to give face-to-face appointments. So that was the main change. We were unable to give our advice throughout our outreaches. Thankfully, our service did not close. We were able to continue to provide that much needed advice during that time to our local community, but it was via phone and email. Last year has shown is that our community is actually really connected, and that our communities look out for one another, and this past year has really shown that, especially in the way that they have reacted to the pandemic, the way that communities are making sure that everybody is looked after, and especially within the third sector organisations, a lot of the activities that happened locally were as a result of local people in their community recognising the need and being able to meet that. I think what this past year has shown is how important volunteers are to the local Clackmannanshire community, and how willing our community is to look after one another in times of need. Volunteering is crucial within our local community in terms of the services that they help to provide, but also within the local economy. You know, they play such a big part in our local community, and that's what's great about Volunteers Week, is that it's a time to say thank you to the volunteers for all the hard work that they do.
At the start of the pandemic, a lot of shops shut down, employment went down, people went on furlough, the schools shut down as well, and it was a big struggle for a lot of places right at the start. For places that were still able to be open, that were struggling, they were able to give opportunities for volunteers to come and help them keep themselves going. For our organisation, the Crafty Kids project happened, and that gave a lot of support for kids that weren't able to go to school, and give them craft supplies so they were kept busy, being kept in the house all day from the national lockdown. Yeah, just as our first lot of orders came in for Crafty Kids boxes, we had volunteers from the Wimpy Park and other people from the local community come in to volunteer and help us with making the boxes, as well as Wimpy Park providing fruit and veg boxes to people that were struggling through the pandemic due to their money being changed or losing their jobs. Thanks to the help of funders, the Crafty Kids project's been able to keep going for now over a year. We're now also looking to employ a business development manager as well as 2 other roles within the organisation, and hopefully that'll keep the Crafty Kids project going further, as well as another project happening within the organisation too.
I think it made a massive difference in our opinion for Crafty Kids, due to like the amount of orders we could get in. We could take a deadline, and we could take that many orders, we might not get that deadline in time. So the volunteers coming in has been like a massive help in hand.
I agree with Jamie.
Matt, where do you see the contribution of volunteers the most in the work that you do going forward?
And helping with the Crafty Kids boxes and the self-care boxes that we make, having volunteers come in when we've got a lot of orders and a very short deadline, it can make the workload a lot easier and be able to fulfil orders in time.
"18 months before the lockdown, we had a very small food bank on the same day that the Citizens Advice Outreach Service was here on a Thursday afternoon. Right. And a lot of their clients required it, so we had a very small food bank then. But to be quite honest, if we did 5 in a week, we were busy. Okay. Very quickly we realised that the people who were in jobs where everywhere was closing, yes. It was the first lockdown, and they were applying for furlough money, for universal credit, for all sorts of things, but it was taking more than 10 weeks to come through, and unfortunately they had to use every penny they had to keep a roof over their head, so they had no money left for food. Mm-hmm. Very quickly we had to learn, everybody that works here had to do a food hygiene course.
Of course.
The other thing we did discover is a lot of elderly and vulnerable people we were supplying food parcels to, but they weren't actually physically able to cook. And so we also had to set up a service where we prepared the food, we freeze them into containers, and then we distribute them, and they get maybe 4 or 5 different kinds, and they can have something different every day. And everybody is so focused on making it work. Yeah. We're getting to know people, especially the elderly people and the vulnerable people, and if we haven't seen them, we're like, why haven't we heard from them this week? Right. And somebody goes out to check on them. And we have Lawrence Hunter who comes, he delivers to the older people, he delivers all the meals and everything. Right. And he also does a welfare check as he goes round, and how are you and how's your family, and you know, he has a bit of banter with them as he goes round. That's his thing. So everybody has their own bit, and I think there's quite a sense of pride with it.
Yes.
There really is a sense of pride with it.
Makes you feel good to be doing good.
Hi, my name's Lynsey and I'm the Communications and Engagement Officer for Clackmannan Development Trust. So I started with the Trust in March of this year, and that was after a few years of working and living in Melbourne, Australia. Last year I decided it was time for me to move home. I wanted to be closer to my family, and also with the pandemic I just thought it was the right time. I'd moved to Australia straight from university, so when I did come home I wasn't too sure on where to begin my career. So I decided to volunteer at Alva Development Trust. I mostly helped with organising the food parcels, going to the different houses to do the deliveries, checking in on people, and it was mostly just engaging with the community and seeing how they were during the pandemic. Getting the chance to volunteer with the Trust made me realise that it's something I really enjoy doing. I love getting the chance to make a difference to people's lives and trying to make the community a better place to live in. I feel like volunteering for the Trust really opened so many doors for me. I met so many great people, and it was so good to hear about all the good things that were happening within the community and in Clackmannanshire. So from there I decided to apply for a job with Clackmannan Development Trust as the Communications and Engagement Officer. It was something that I was so excited about. because it was something to do with my degree and it was in line with my previous experience. Leslie and the trust have been so great to work with. It's been amazing so far. I've only been working there for 2 months, but I'm so excited to see what comes next. Working in the third sector has made me realise what a big difference these charities and community groups can make to people's lives. And it also makes me realise how important they are to have in the community. And this all started from volunteering at my local development trust, so I'd like to thank them very much.
When the pandemic hit, the Playpen Cafe had to essentially stop what we were doing because we were hospitality based. So we diversified and created the Lunch Club at Home project, which is about feeding the elderly and sending out home cooked meals to them while they were isolating at home. Most of our beneficiaries are in their 80s and 90s and most of them live alone. So it really has been a lifeline for them. Our main aims with the Lunch Club at Home is to break down isolation and loneliness among the elderly, both during the pandemic and beyond. And what we've discovered through engaging with them and getting to know them is that there is a much longer term need for the services that we are offering, not only in providing healthy and hearty food that can be easily prepared at home, but in the befriending side of what we do. Our volunteers are really key to our whole organisation, and when they deliver the food, they spend quite a bit of time with the beneficiaries on the doorstep or gate side, talking to them, getting to know them, just checking in, making sure that they're all right. And they're quite often the only person that the beneficiary sees in a day. So it's really a vital part of what we do, and we're so grateful to the 50 plus volunteers that have been working with us since the first lockdown. So the Playpen Cafe are now really looking to the future, looking to see how we can embed the Lunch Club at Home project as a long-term sustainable service for the elderly in our community, more like a traditional Meals on Wheels type of service, perhaps bridging some of the gaps in the care services that are on offer at the moment. We're also looking at getting back to our core beneficiary group, so families with young children under 5, and returning to offering play sessions for them, social sessions for their parents and caregivers that address their mental health needs and the social needs of the children as well. So we're looking to get back to a pop-up programme of play events, and then hopefully move to a fixed premises for the Playpen Cafe, which was our original plan before COVID hit. So really looking to the future and widening what we do to take on the new beneficiary group as well.
Why do you volunteer for Lunch Club at Home?
Because I think it provides a lifeline for people in the local community and further afield. It doesn't just feed them, but it gives them a social moment. They see somebody that they wouldn't normally see.
That's lovely.
Sometimes more than once a week.
That's good. And what do you think it means for them?
Oh, I think it means everything, especially those who live alone and are sheltering. Who do they see during the week? Maybe a carer or somebody, but then we turn up with grub as well, and that can only be a bonus.
Fabulous, thank you.
Hi there guys, my name's Dave from Connect Alloa. I am the project leader and the charity founder. Before COVID hit, we ran twice weekly groups face to face for primary 7s to 19-year-olds. Based in St Mungo's Parish Church for the most part, with some outdoor work too. The organisation also ran things like quarterly community events as well, and I think that was really good, and making the young people respect the community and the community understand that not all young people can be painted with the same brush too. The impact we saw was definitely the fact that we had to transition online, which thankfully we managed to do very, very fast. I didn't actually miss a single week, but obviously online's not for everybody, and over time I think we have noticed a decline in mental health. We've noticed that there's less people coming to groups and things, although we are retaining contact just through sending messages through our work phone and things like that. I think the impact hit everybody in different ways, and it's also it's because of the unknown, I think, as well. I guess it's taught me that persistence is key. We've pushed through, we've kept going, we've kept promoting ourselves, we've kept trying to make contact, and it's kind of taught us that COVID is something serious that we need to keep an eye on and be wary of and risk assess, but it doesn't stop us doing our jobs. And all we can do is hope things get better and better so we can continue to engage with more young people. For them, a lot of people are on the same page. We're trying to support our volunteers, which is quite difficult during this pandemic, but we also want to make sure that we're not being selfish with our volunteers. We're offering these opportunities and giving them as much experience as we can. I think it's really good that we're able to work together as volunteer managers to do the best by our volunteers too. I think from what I've heard, a lot of people have stepped up to volunteering, and I think this will change as well, and afterwards we'll either have a new influx of people looking to do face-to-face or people looking to do something a bit different as COVID response calms down.
I'd say that I can cope more. I've realised just how much I can actually cope with that I didn't think I maybe would be able to cope with. I'm actually able to cope with quite a lot. And it's been good to get out and help people, and it's been good to, you know, still be able to continue to help people even through a pandemic.
So you would say that you've you know, that's maybe one of the things that you've enjoyed about experience of volunteering. Is there anything else that you've enjoyed while you've been volunteering?
Loads of different things. That obviously getting to socialise, getting to see people, in terms of, you know, making friendships and things within the volunteering role, you know, training as well, you know, getting to be able to train for things that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily otherwise be able to train for, that obviously are going to help you in the future with things like, you know, if you go looking for employment and things like that. Yeah.
And will you continue volunteering after the pandemic?
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
In every area of Clackmannanshire, the work by local groups and individuals to help their fellow citizens has been truly incredible, and I once again want to record my gratitude and thanks to everyone. I hope that the legacy of the community response to the pandemic and the joint working and responses that started out of necessity will keep going and help drive us forward. Like everyone, I will be so glad to see the back of the virus, and I am looking forward to being able to meet friends and family in person instead of just online. But we need to learn lessons from this past year. A few things have come to the fore for me. One of these is how our disadvantaged and most deprived communities have been hit the hardest in terms of both health and economic impacts, and we will need concerted efforts from all sectors to address this. Another is how many of our communities became empowered, and through the hard work of volunteers were able to support and assist those who needed it. I'd like to see us build on this fantastic work, to try to keep the momentum going and to try and ensure that communities truly are at the heart of decision making.
Hi everybody. I just wanted to take a moment at the end of this impact reel to say another thank you to all of our local volunteers and third sector organisations and groups, especially those who have taken the time to help us create this video. We hope that it would provide just a glimpse into the amazing contribution of our sector over the past year and tell some of those stories. We also hope it provides a little bit of time for reflection. I know so many of us have been just firefighting, trying to keep things going over the past year. And so hopefully this gives you that time and space to really think about how far we've all come. CTSI will be here to try and help support you through building back better and keeping that momentum in our communities, as we don't want to see it lost. So although this has come during Volunteers Week, I just wanted to say another huge thank you and to ensure that you know you're appreciated each and every single day, not just during Volunteers Week. Thank you.